Hi, this is Rahman Sheikh. Welcome to Fortnightly Railway Transportation Systems podcast. I am the host and railway systems specialist working in this industry for 24 years and counting. This podcast is primarily focused on railway experts who have vast amount of experience and contributed greatly to this amazing industry. This is not a technical seminar but focuses on feel good stories, individual journeys, their success and failures, motivating younger generation to kickstart their career in railways and creating a sense of pride for the railway people who devoted their lives on the most environment friendly public transportation. Our guest for this fortnight is Louise Howard, Director of Louise Howard Advisory, Sydney. Louise Howard is highly accomplished business consultant and strategic advisor to large-scale billion-dollar infrastructure projects in civil, rail, and energy sectors. With a wealth of experience leading teams across delivery, design, engineering, finance, risk, and safety functions, Louise has a proven track record of successfully navigating complex environments, delivering exceptional results, earning her national recognition across industry in Australia. Louise was named one of the Australian Financial Review's Boss Young Executives of the Year in 2020 and was both a finalist and overall winner in the New South Wales Premier Awards. Louise's experience and achievements are supported by advanced qualifications in multiple disciplines including science, health and safety and an executive MBA. Louise holds multiple board and committee roles, leveraging her insightful contributions to shape strategic decision making and industry development. Hi Louise, welcome to Railway Transportation Systems podcast.
Hi, Rahiman. Thanks for having me.
Hey Louise, can you please tell us your professional journey as a kickoff?
Yeah, for sure. No problems. It doesn't seem that long ago that it all started, to be honest. So professionally, university was a big goal of mine, to go to university. When I finished school, I didn't really define what I wanted to do. I just wanted to go to university. That was a goal from a younger age. So I got into uni and at the University of, or Western Sydney University as it's known now, and did a health degree to start, which wasn't really my first choice, but I thought, let's get in and let's see what it's about. And I really wanted to know what the end goal was, and the health policy degree that I did initially didn't really clearly define that. So I had a really good tutor and she was an occupational therapist. So I pursued that as a qualification and also as a profession. Finished that. I didn't like any of it. None of it. And I guess the lesson for me there was just finish. Don't give up. Don't exit when you don't have a plan B. Just finish. You'll work it out from there. So I finished the degree, worked as an OT for about 5 minutes in the span of my career. Hats off to every allied health professional who does this job and anyone that works in health. I think incredible contribution to society. Just was not for me. So jumped out of that, and then I had a colleague who said, we're going to do something different. Let's do a Masters of Occupational Health and Safety. At that time, I had no idea what it was. I said it was very dry, very boring, not really into what I was looking at doing. Anyway, so enrolled at the University of Wollongong and did that. It was probably one of the most difficult years that I've had. Finished that. Again, didn't really love it, but finished it. That's my kind of love-hate relationship with university. And then started to really look at career opportunities, high-risk environments. And this for me is where energy, rail, heavy civils, where I started to explore that area and find a purpose in the role that I was doing, which was preventing harm and keeping people health and safe in their work environment. So that's quite a significant purpose to get up to every day. So did that for a long period of time. And then I always had a business mindset. So it was important for me to have a qualification where I thought my brain kind of was at. And that was around, profit and loss, growth, finance, and really understanding how a business runs. And I had that kind of from a young age, but I didn't really have a qualification or work experience. So I wanted to pursue that. So I did an executive MBA at RMIT, and that was all by the age of 30. So 3 degrees by 30. And I really then enjoyed leading teams. So leadership coupled with more generalized business experience, but also my specialism in health and safety and high risk environments is where I really found my love for projects. And so I much prefer projects than operational environments because there's a beginning, middle and end, and there's a goal that everyone is seeking to achieve. So that's kind of my professional journey in a nutshell. And then beyond that, I am an Australian Institute Company Director and received that qualification, which is probably one of the best I've ever done. And so I encourage anyone that's thinking about that. It's quite difficult. It's probably the toughest thing that I've done, and for good reason. But yeah, I definitely think the qualifications, and I'm a big advocate of tertiary qualifications, supporting your career, making sure you're getting your return on investment and you're doing it for a reason. But they just open up different worlds, different networks, and, you know, train you to think a different way than you normally would in your normal kind of career pursuits.
I agree. Wow. Highly influential, agile, and authentic career, I should say. Louise, since our time at Sydney Metro, where I observed you as the EDA director, I have admired your leadership style. Would you mind sharing it with our audience?
Yes. So yeah, I think I have a pretty unique style. It's I wouldn't define it as a kind of one type of style. If you kind of look up leadership, you say, what box do I fit in? I think for me, it's the box changes depending on the environment and what's required at the time. I think that's really important, that you don't just go into a leadership role and say, this is how it's going to be. I think there's definitely times for that. But for me, the leadership roles over the last, 10, 15 years have really been about what's required and what are the outcomes we are going to achieve together. And so I do find that if you involve and engage people, so I'm a big engager, as you know, whether you are starting out as a graduate or whether you're on my senior leadership team, everyone should have an equal and equivalent voice and have an opportunity to be part of how their business runs, their business unit, their function. So for me, it's kind of a democratic kind of style. I do like to make sure everybody is on board before we go forward, but saying that you can't always wait, and we're not always there to make friends or keep people happy. We've got a business to run. So empowering people around me is key. Don't hire smart people and tell them what to do. So the last role I did where you observed me, Rahim, and I was surrounded by what I would call experts and people much smarter than me, which I quite enjoyed because there's always learning opportunities. And sometimes you don't get that in leadership roles. But to be curious and to be open-minded and have all of this incredible technical expertise around me, it would be silly for me to tell people what to do or to direct traffic as such. So I think that is really important. A big part of my style is following through. I see a lot of people saying a lot of things and not following through. I think turn up and be there for people. And if you say you're going to do something, or you are going to take an action, or you're going to lead on something, then you need to follow through and you need to, do what you say you're going to do. I think people immediately can start to see that as a leader, whether you are authentic and whether you're genuine or whether you're just, providing some level of lip service to them. So yeah, I think for me, getting across all parts of the team, whether they're, and I've had teams of 5 and 6 and I've had teams of 150, 160. I think knowing who your team is, what makes up that team, and what are the different skills that people have. I also find it's interesting to understand where people come from. We had quite a diverse team, as you know, in the engineering team. And I think understanding what other skills that they possess, not what's just written on their CV or their qualifications, because work is just a very, small component of our lives. There's a lot more to people than just the work environment. So I think the more you know about people, the more ability you have as a leader to call on the different skills that they possess.
Amazing. Your words resonate deeply with me, Louise. Don't hire people and tell them what to do.
It sounds pretty obvious, but, I just think I see it all the time, and I think it's easier when you are outside of your own comfort zone to rely on people and to trust people more. I think I see it a lot more when people are the specialists and they've got a team of specialists and they know best. And I think there is a challenge in that, but you have to let it go. And, I learned probably about 7 or 8 years ago, don't be attached to how it's done, be attached to the outcome. So I see lots of times where I'll be like, oh, I probably wouldn't have done it that way, but have we got to the outcome? So when I'm feeling frustrated or I'm feeling maybe a little bit anxious about how something is progressing, I just always come back to kind of my little mantra of don't get attached to how it's being done, just get attached to the outcome. So just make sure the team gets to the finish line and that they're okay. Don't worry about how they're doing it, because it's not how you would do it, because there's not 10 of you, there's 10 of other people. And that has served me well in terms of my own management style. So I think 2 other elements for me is leaders that are clear. So provide the clarity on the direction of where the team and where the business is heading. Also, in times of turmoil, what is going on? Just give the people some information. They might not love it. Business might not love it, but people that know what's going on are much more engaged than people that are in the dark. And I think it's unfair and unreasonable for people to be successful in an environment where they don't know what is happening and when the next checkpoint is, what the next milestone milestone is, what level of issue is occurring within the business. I think particularly environments we've been in, there is too much that is held back from the kind of employee group, and it's to that detriment of the team. So the other thing for me is being decisive. I said that would be a clear trait that I know I've got a lot of good feedback on, and it's make decisions. No one is left wondering. Yeah, you've got to make decisions.
Great leadership style and very much applicable to real life scenarios. I really like your style, Louise. Let's explore to your areas of expertise, that is safety. After working in many different companies and industries, which sector has got exceptional safety standards, do you think?
Great question. I think there is not one sector. I think there are organizations, businesses and companies that are really excelling in areas, occupational health and safety. I don't think there's one particular sector that reigns supreme. Traditionally, we would say oil and gas is probably up there as it's been more significantly invested in over the last 15, 20 years. They are significantly high risk environments, so they've had to be kind of pushed into that. Mining as well, because, when we're working safely, we're also very productive because it's a byproduct of how the business operates. So, if the program is going well, if quality of the work is going well, then health and safety is going well. It's not really the other way around. It's generally if things are breaking down, people are struggling, then you're going to start to see an increase in incident and issue in your work environment. So for me, oil and gas, mining, because they have been ahead for a period of time, they're still high risk environments. They still have fatalities. They still have significant injuries and incidents, but they have evolved. I think construction still has a way to go. We're still doing things quite manually. We're still probably haven't integrated a lot of technology like other sectors. I would say the same is for rail. The good thing about rail in Australia, it does have rail safety national law that forces the sector to meet a standard, which is quite prescriptive, and I think it's quite simple to meet. However, again, the integration of technology, the overall rail strategy for this country, we're seeing it now. It's struggling. I don't think any state has it nailed. I don't think federally we have a really significant or robust rail plan for freight or for passenger. And that's a shame because, as you know, around the world, countries that are doing well and countries that have got it together really have good, strong rail infrastructure and have a backbone around moving passengers and freight. And I think the geographical kind of landscape of Australia makes that slightly difficult with the size and the distances. However, I think we need to do better. And I know we're trying, but it seems like a long time in the making to get over that line. So in terms of, the sectors, I'd probably say oil and gas, mining, construction in some areas. I think, construction is really pushing the bar in some areas, but it's not cohesively across the board. Rail in some areas, but I still feel like it's not where I feel like we've really plateaued. Yeah. So we've done a lot of good work in the last 20 years. So since 2000 and since the change of the harmonisation of legislation in this country, but we haven't really now gone much further. So we've plateaued. Fatalities haven't really moved too much, but they're just still there. We're still losing too many people. We're still having too many problems in this sector. So, and across the board. So I think now is a real step change. And so I'm looking for that across industry around what does the next 15 or 20 years look like? How are we going to have fatalities again? So it's an interesting time.
Even I'm looking forward, and with people like you, I believe we can fix that in the rail industry. Your insights are honest and your answer is truly amazing. Let's continue on safety because it's such a nice topic. What do you think is important in establishing a safety program to address the unique risks of any industry which you have worked on?
Yes, I really think the program or the safety program, as you've put it, is kind of the output. It's not really the starting point. The starting point is the risk profile for the organization, the risk profile for the project, the risk profile for the sector. And there's a lot of good data that we have on industry around this. So if your business hasn't got an established risk profile that your health and safety teams are working from, then stop and start with that. And this is really around where health and safety professionals need to become more generalized and more integrated into business operations or project management as a whole. If you treat health and safety as a separate or singular item, you're already going to fail. It must be integrated into core business activities. And so risk is a really good way to do that because you then become not the health and safety professional, you become, a forward step into more broader risk. As we know, covers the commercial aspects, the financial aspects, the human aspects. And so health and safety should be part of that. It shouldn't be separate. So I always look at business or a company when I'm either doing a review or I've got some work and see how that's integrated. Because quite often it's the health and safety team doing health and safety. That's not sustainable improvement or sustainable change for your business. So that's where an established risk profile will guide decision making and actions. Often we see the opposite, where we do the activity and then we go back to the risk profile, or we look at the actions and we go, oh no, we actually did this, then we did this, then we did this. Or risks are realized quite often in health and safety, and then we respond or react. If you're in the reaction phase or the reaction mindset, again, you are way behind the eight ball here. You must be in the established risk profile position that guides decision making and actions. You need to be proactive rather than react. Again, simple stuff, not rocket science, but yet businesses constantly fall into the trap of reacting or responding. The amount of time I see companies and teams spending on incident management, incident response, if we did 15 or 20% of that time in the proactive space, we would be in much different areas in terms of improvement for that business. So it has to be multifaceted, right? The program is not the answer. Program facilitates a series of activities, actions that should align with your strategic direction as a business and your risk profile. That must be. So, people, leadership, systems, process, and governance. Also, metrics are important. What you don't measure, you don't manage. So keep an eye on, what you're measuring and how you're measuring. It's really key.
Wow, beautiful. I think the safety people might have been recording your questions. Your ideas and takeaways, are outstanding. You effortlessly addressed the unique risks of any industry, explaining them probably in a very simple and easily understandable terms, which people like me who can understand pretty easily. So after applying all these, how do you measure the success of a safety program?
Okay, so for me, measurement is always qualitative and quantitative. I do like hard data and I do like numbers. However, in health and safety, the numbers we're seeing at the moment is all about how much harm is done, right? We don't really record or count much. And this is a gross generalization, but, most businesses are still in the lag metrics, and lag metrics means the issue has already occurred and we count it, and then we want that count to inform the future. And we know that past events don't always inform future. So you're kind of already on a bit of a rocky road if that's what you are counting. For me, health and safety, to my previous point, is around integration into all facets of the business, right? That is again, qualitative measure, but you can easily look around and go, where does health and safety, regardless of what industry or what sector, where is it featuring in this business and company? If it is just, again, in a standalone corner, doing its own thing, meeting compliance and regulation, it's not overly effective, or not as effective as it could be. So, and I guess we get caught out with those lag measures or indicators, the TRIFR, the LTIFR, which I know you've heard of. Everybody uses them. It's really frustrating, particularly in this country, but also globally, that's what we're counting. How many people have you hurt? And what's an acceptable number of people that you've hurt? That's what we're saying. When people are bidding for work, or, we're on a project and we say, how's the contractor's performance? And we go, oh yeah, actually, they've only hurt 2 people this year, and we're okay with that. How do you get a board or an executive group to say, yes, that's okay? But guess what? People are doing that every single day in boardrooms across this country, going, yeah, that's an acceptable level of harm. The good boards and the good directors that know what they're doing push against that and say, there is no acceptable level. We can't be in an industry and we can't be employing people that we know may result in some level of harm for them. So yeah, all too often around measures, they're low quality safety statistics. This is, whether it's in rail, whether it's in construction, mining, oil, gas, they're red flags for business leaders if you're measuring these things. And the incident focus over prevention is something that really needs to be shifted across industry. If you're measuring what has happened, then what insight are you really getting to prevent the harm?
Well, one word is thought-provoking. Your perspective is very refreshing. It's worth documenting and applying, I think, in our professions. Can you tell us what instances made you choose safety as a profession over something else?
Yeah, okay. So I didn't really choose safety. It kind of chose me, as I, said in my early career bio. And so for me, it's the purpose, right? And if health and safety is delivered effectively in a business setting, then you have access to everything. You can see everything. And so that's the other reason why I enjoy the platform of health and safety in the profession, is that if it's done well and you're influential in the space that you are, then you are at the top table and you are seeing and hearing and you're a part of all of the decision making. Quite often, again, these decisions decisions are made, and then health and safety comes along, and same as risk, same as a lot of other functions, comes along and says, oh, well, we've got these problems, and business leaders will go, well, we've made those decisions without consideration really for any of these impacts on these groups. So for me, there are tangible outcomes in health and safety, more so than a lot of areas. And I think the bigger picture focus in health and safety is what has, drawn me to that profession originally. So saying that, I do enjoy the strategic work where health and safety is integrated well across business. And so again, if the business is making money, if it's on time, the project, if the quality, is occurring, then health and safety is going well. So being at that table and making those decisions collectively as a leader, not just as a health and safety professional, is what is appealing to me. Anything purposeful really is what is getting me out of bed. Making a significant impact, whether it be an impact on people personally during their career journey, increasing or managing a P&L, growing a sector or growing a part of a business, preventing harm, increasing the diversity of the workforce, which I'm a big advocate of. I need a bigger purpose to contribute to, so this ensures I'm fulfilled in my work. And I guess health and safety was a very good entry point to experience that. Lots of people go through their whole career and they don't experience great fulfillment. I had that very early on in my career, so I'm constantly chasing that feeling and wanting to experience that again. And I feel like I'm doing that now in my own advisory business, being able to pick and choose the work that I have and who I work with and the work that is meaningful and impactful.
I do agree, and I really appreciate how you emphasize the importance of choices, purpose, and the broader impacts of all facets. You look at that big purpose, such as positively influencing people's careers, fostering growth, and promoting diversity in the workplace, as you said in your intro, and I actually witnessed it through myself working under you. You truly set you apart as a driven and purposeful professional. You're quite different, I should say, from the leaders I have seen so far, and very honest and very straightforward.
Too honest sometimes, right? Yeah. Too honest.
Yeah. Coming this far, Louise, it's not easy. You might have faced lots of challenges, I believe. What are some of those biggest challenges you have seen in your workplace, safety over the past few years, or any other challenges you might have faced as a leader?
Yeah, so a lot. I think lots of people, face challenges. I think my mindset more broadly over my career is that challenges in second part opportunities. So a challenge presented to me is not necessarily of a negative type. It's how can I kind of conquer or get through this? So yeah, for me in career, I've always worked in predominantly male dominated environments, and the majority is, male focus, male style. And so instead of trying to meet that or be the same, I think it's important to differentiate and show people that difference is wanted and difference is important. And I think we're seeing that more and more over the last few years. I would have said when I started, it probably wasn't as embraced as much, but it is much more so now. So for me, in terms of the workplace, I think leadership buy-in. I think I see challenges where leaders are struggling now, particularly more so than ever, to get buy-in and engagement. I see a lot of rhetoric in the media around, particularly post-COVID, people really evaluating what's important to them. And maybe work wasn't as high on the list as employers would like it to be. So how employers are dealing with that. I think, again, it comes back to my original point around purpose, vision, clarity. If you provide a really helpful work environment for people where they can see themselves making an impact, you will have engagement. You will have people. Hiring smart people who know what they are talking about, and then, particularly in health and safety, so hiring intelligent health and safety leaders and then making them spend 50 to 70% of their time convincing others that they should listen. I see a lot of that, just not in health and safety, but in other areas, that you talk about influencing, but it takes a lot of time and energy to influence. And while the influencing is occurring, the work isn't getting done. So productivity is low when influencing is high. So if you are having to work really hard to get people to listen to you, chances are there's not a lot of work getting done. So I see that as a challenge for health and safety, but also leadership in general. And then people getting a real understanding again about their risk profiles. And in the areas of health and safety, I think the emerging area, it's always been there, but now it's getting some regulatory review, is psychosocial health and the impact of workplace on people. So I think once upon a time, it was just a thing you did. You went to work, you got up, you came home, you had dinner, you did your household chores, you took your kids to school, and there was no real consideration for this 8 or 10 hour block you were spending at work on your mental health, your physical health, your social health. And so post-COVID, I think that is a really important area for people to examine personally about what they're doing, their work lives, and if it's important and fulfilling for them. And if it's not, then make a change. Look at what is important. So I think those are the challenges that we will continue to see, particularly in health and safety, but just in the workplace over the next 3 to 5 years.
Amazing answers, Louise. 3 bullet points: leadership buy-in, influence, reflection. Wow. Pretty much with all these, what we discussed so far, do you think we can reduce incidents?
So yeah, I think we can. I think we need to be a little bit more agile and nimble around how we trial and test things. I think at one end of the scale, we need everything to be 101% right before we, launch something, and we need to, make sure everything is in line, cross our T's, dot our I's. Too slow, way too slow. And then you've got the other end of the scale where people are trialing and testing things, but it's not well integrated to the business. And maybe it's not well thought out about, is this a need versus a want? And what is the return on this? So we need to come somewhere in the middle. I think some industries are doing it. The tech sector does it really well in terms of the startup space and failing fast and recovering and then moving. So iterating, where I think traditional industry, there's too many strategic plans, there's too many business plans, there's too many projects. Like, it's a plan for a plan, yet the activity is so slow to move that by the time we've got something approved or where it needs to be, we're already 18 months, 2, 3, 4 years behind. And the next either solution or piece of technology or opportunity is already upon us. You see integration of AI now across business. It's incredible. I've really started to use it in the last 2 months, and wow. I just think if we're not harnessing this and you don't have an area in your business that is working in this space, then you need to get people there. So I'm a big fan of, you almost need a little bit of a sandpit in your organization where maybe you throw a little bit of money at it, you have a few people, and you have this constant iteration of opportunities that maybe your mainstream business just does not have time to deal with. Because as you know, when you're in the business, you're working for the business, you don't have time to improve the business. So I think that's important around how innovation is integrated, because I think innovation is the key around reducing incidents across the board.
Wow, amazing. So after all this, after the safety and engineering leadership, I just want to ask you, because you left us, the Sydney Metro.
You make it sound so sad.
I am sad. Losing leaders like you, it is sad. What's next on your journey, Louise?
Yeah, next on my journey, well, as you know, I have some intense health issues with my family at the moment, and luckily they're all going to be healthy, but we just have not had a great year. And yeah, anyone who is dealing with any type of cancer journey, shout out to those people, whether they have a loved one or, it's a little bit off topic, but it's very important and close to me at the moment. It is very difficult and it's very hard to see your loved ones go through this. The good thing for both of my parents is that they, fingers crossed, will both be all right. But for me, it's been good to get off the hamster wheel of the corporate environment. I will say I feel good about having a breath, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to do that. And in the meantime, I have established my advisory business where I've got some really great clients that I'm working with. I'm mentoring some amazing humans. I'm getting to attend some great events, Rahiman. So I'm off to Melbourne, Saudi Arabia, Brisbane, where some great infrastructure is being worked on and developed. And so to be part of that and have a look firsthand, I think there's nothing better than going and having a look at it. So, and being able to provide advice based on my experience and the people that I have in my network is a really fortunate position. And I'm quite grateful to everyone that supported me over the time to get here. So I'm enjoying that. Saying that, I think another leadership corporate role is, potentially in 2024. I think that's what I'm looking to do. I do miss being part of a team, and I did love the team that we had at Sydney Metro, and most of my teams at Sydney Metro, actually. I really had fortunate to have great teams and great experiences within the organisation. So, and prior to that as well, I really enjoy, I think maybe it was the competitive sports person in me as a young adult, where I really liked being part of a team and contributing, not necessarily just leading, but also, having a team environment to bounce things off, to work with closely, to achieve goals, celebrate successes, commiserate with each other when things weren't going well. I think that's still in me, and I still would like to pursue that longer term. But for the time being, I'm enjoying flexibility, enjoying working with some really great clients, and doing a bit of traveling. As you know, I enjoy traveling. So,
Louise, your enthusiasm for personal and professional growth is truly inspiring to many, not just me. I wish you all the success. And before I let you go, I want to ask you one last question, one piece of advice for me and my audience.
Okay, one piece of advice: back yourself, make the decision, ask the question, take action, and stop thinking and start doing. Too often people are stuck in think before they execute. You know what? If it's half right, give it a go.
Beautiful. Your words serve a powerful reminder for all of us. It was pleasure talking to you, Louise.
Thanks, Rahim, and really appreciate the time.
I believe everyone listening to this podcast has got something to take away from today's discussion. If you like this podcast, please listen, follow, and share this podcast within your network. If you believe we should be sharing your story or someone within your network, there is a railway leader who should be here sharing his or her contribution to this industry. Contact me on railway transportation systems at gmail.com. Thank you for your time today. See you next fortnight. Until then, stay safe and take care of yourself.